Welcome to The Grit. For the second time today, Chaz had a little recording mishap. November 11th. This is the kind of day, this is dad brain, dude.
Oh, man.
It truly is.
I'll tell you what, stuff will start falling out of those ears.
Really?
I mean,
Man.
I am such a, I'm not going to blame it on being a dad. I'm just a scattered mess.
Okay.
But I feel that being a dad, I don't know, I'm going to say like when they're babies and you're just lack of sleep and whatnot and everything's new and weird, like maybe then you'll be fuzzy. I feel I am more focused now, to be honest, than I was pre-fatherhood.
Yeah, in certain ways, I think I am.
Yeah.
I feel like a drive and an ambition. I've always been pretty ambitious, probably. I feel like a newfound ambition that I didn't have before. Well, we only missed, I'd say, 10 minutes of conversation due to my recording faux pas, but we were talking about Veterans Day.
We were talking about Veterans Day. Today is Veterans Day, and David Lee shared that both his brothers are in the service.
Thankfully, they're in there so that I don't have to be.
Yeah.
I remember being in high school, actually, and there was a kid who was like, that was going to be his career. He was so dedicated. And I had that exact thought, like, wow, I have zero ambition to do that. And so I'm so grateful that you are going to do that so that I can just dilly-dally. That I can go surfing. I mean,
the kids, I remember the kids at my high school who would always do ROTC and stuff. Like they'd be out marching on the football field in the morning, kind of pre-military stuff. And I always thought, like I'm glad you guys are doing that, but it always kind of looked good. They were always dressed real sharp in their...
You got to admire it.
Yeah, in their, whatever the ROTC kids wear, like blue shirts tucked in. Yeah, it was ship shape.
They're better people than I am. I know that much. Like in terms of the amount of discipline, like if I had that level of discipline, I would be far better off in my life than I am right now, if I applied it to whatever I ended up doing. I was watching a movie the other night and it had a war scene, people literally killing each other. So hopefully everybody that we know who's in the military, hopefully they never find themselves in that situation, in an actual war zone, in combat. But I was watching it and thinking, ultimately this comes down to two 23-year-old dudes who have to now shoot each other and take each other's lives. And for what purpose? Well, because there's some political ambition, maybe it's a religious ambition from higher ups whom they will never meet, whom they will never engage with, but they're doing it for those people, right? And I was like, man, no matter who's been in office, Trump, Biden, whoever else, I don't fully trust or believe anything that they say with enough passion and fervor to go kill somebody else.
But what about the idea of the United States of America?
That I do,
I mean, I think
but the wars that we've been involved in my life aren't necessarily for the idea of the United States of America. They are because of some oil and, or whatever. Or with the, after 9/11 thing, it's like that was so convoluted that if I was standing in the battlefield, I would be thinking about what's the actual reason we're here right now.
But I mean, imagine Vietnam, so much more there, right? I mean, all those guys who got drafted to go fight in Vietnam, and for a cause that makes 9/11 or the sort of the war on terror seem like the most sensible thing ever.
Totally. And so the idea that you got drafted, so you're forced to do it, because a lot of those guys, especially the hippie mentality, were anti all of that more than I'm anti it. I'm just thinking about it, but those guys were actually like devoutly opposed. And so then they're standing there with a rifle. And I have a feeling like the Vietnamese guy might have been feeling the same way, or maybe they were so pissed that when it comes down to killing somebody, it's a matter of will. Yeah. Like I might be stronger than you, but if I don't have the will to kill you, then you can kill me because I'm just not going to do it, And,
or if you're not like totally sharp as a tack on, like in your, okay, I'm going to go be a killing machine right now.
Right.
Like
it's so sad.
I think when people talk about the divisiveness of our time now, right? Like, man, Republicans and Democrats and left and right and whatever, just everybody. So, pro-vax, anti-vax, like just the sort of polarization. I always think, man, but I wasn't alive during the Vietnam days, but I imagine it only being 80 million times worse then. You had this war that people violently opposed and or, were pro, I suppose. You had civil rights stuff happening. I mean, it seems like the polarization of the 60s, again, make our polarization seem like
100%.
Yeah, like a game show.
Totally. Yeah, those were actual causes.
Yeah.
We're just like have nothing to complain about now, so we create
like bashing our heads over vaccine mandates.
Completely. Well, in the version of this conversation that I forgot to record, we were talking about Sid Abruzzi not getting drafted. You were just having a conversation with Sid on Dirty Water with Derek.
Sid Abruzzi on Dirty Water, didn't get drafted. I asked him, because he was obviously, young surfer, opposed to the war, I'm sure, opposed to the idea of it. And I asked him if he would have dodged, if he would have got drafted. And he said, no, I would have gone. But he got straight up lucky and just got didn't do a, medical exemption or anything, just straight up got a low draft number. And so wasn't going to
go. How did that podcast go with Sid?
Great. I mean, really? Sid, every time I talk to him, I remember the surf world has a few of these guys, characters, these like true living legends. And Sid is one of them, as to me, as iconic as anyone in the surf space right now.
I know there's a documentary being made about him.
Yes.
You were saying they put it on pause because...
So it got paused or delayed slightly. So I believe, if I recall, I can go listen to Dirty Water. It's all in there. But I think it comes out this summer or something like that in maybe a year-ish. And the guys doing the movie, the documentary, are finishing up Adam Sandler's new movie right now. So they're, I think, directed it and produced and wrote, I think, even Adam Sandler's new film. So, which made me think, the Sid Abruzzi doco is going to be pretty fantastic then.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a further divide. Adam Sandler comedy, which are always awful.
It might not be a comedy. It might be Adam Sandler's new film, which might be
hopefully
a serious film.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I kind of forgot about that. I know you're Punch Drunk Love.
Exactly.
And then Uncut Gems. He does serious stuff every once in a while.
He does.
Funny People.
Yep.
Which I liked a lot, actually. Okay, so maybe not as far of a divide from documentary.
Maybe not. Especially, I mean, I was thinking as I was talking to Sid, like excited for the Sid doco, of course, but the Sid feature film would be like Sid Abruzzi still is the most, I will say, at 70 years old, is the most handsome man in surfing. 70 years old, most handsome man in surfing. And looks like De Niro a lot, but De Niro's not going to play... Like, I want the feature film of Sid Abruzzi. He was telling a story about rolling up to the point, I think, Ruggles, and where the mansion on the point there, the butler hated them surfing there. And so would go break bottles of glass in the street anytime he heard waves because he would know they'd be coming in. And so you'd just be driving over shards of glass. And then it was just a great story. This idea of this mansion, this butler hating the surfers, and young Sid going and surf checking in the morning, all this. I was just picturing feature in my mind and then thinking, who plays the young Sid Abruzzi?
Well, I don't know who would play the young, but Sean Penn also. You mentioned De Niro is obvious, but Sean Penn too.
Has very much Sid, a Sid flavor.
So who would be the young version of those?
I mean, that's
guys?
the thing. It's like
it's a rugged look.
It's a rugged but super handsome.
Yeah.
Rugged but handsome. I don't know if we have any more, like Timothy Chalamet is all we get now.
I know, it's true. We'll think of somebody, I'm sure. So Sid, I don't get to talk or hang with Sid nearly enough. No. Every once in a while I'll get a text from him and I'm like, I've always just been too busy to maintain a relationship, But did I ever tell you when I went to his house?
And you, yes, you did.
He toured me through the basement. I forget what he calls the basement. It has an epic name.
He gave the podcast, I think, from the basement, and it made me frustrated that he offered for me to come stay there anytime I'm there. And
it's amazing.
And I'm kicking myself for not doing it yet. I need to do it soon.
Well, we arrived at his house and he quarantined us upstairs with Danielle, his wife. He's like, hold on, I got to go get it. Oh, the pit is what it's called. He's like, I got to go get the pit ready. And I'm like, oh, what is this going to be, And he disappears. And then 5 minutes later comes back up. He's like, all right, it's ready. And we go down and there's literally like velvet curtain, that you then open up when you enter. And there's music playing and he's got it lit. He's got surf videos going. And it has so much surf memorabilia from the last 30 and 40 years. I mean, maybe more than that. It looks like your high school bedroom wall, but on steroids. So like magazine clippings, but then also, much more important things, trophies and surfboards, this crazy surfboard collection, guitar collections, all with amazing stories behind it of everybody. Tony Hawk, the second X Games, I think they did in Newport, Kelly Slater, like all these musicians, just every little thing you pick up, tchotchkes galore, memorabilia galore, you pick up and it's like, oh, let me tell you that story.
Yeah.
22 minutes into the story later and you forgot how you started, just unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, and a true living legend, that Sid Abruzzi. Yeah.
And by the way, I know nobody who's more committed to the retail surf shop life than Sid.
Of course. And
which is interesting.
I will say core surfing in general. I mean, Sid has sacrificed all for the very core, for can't beat him.
In a way that you could have grown that brand into a national chain of retail or whatever, but it flies in the face of core retail.
Derek was laughing just or in the intro to Sid Abruzzi, it was like, if you've never been to his surf shop, well, good luck. He doesn't have a website, and there's no address posted anywhere.
I think it's changed location a couple of times. There was a water damage thing a couple of years ago, but I think you could find it if you're in Newport, Rhode Island. You could find it.
Water Bros.
Yeah, and when you say the mansion on the cliff, the dozens and dozens and dozens of mansions on the cliffs. Yeah. There's a cliff walk, and it is the closest thing that we have in all of America to European castles.
Yep.
It's not just, because you and I live in Southern California where we have Beverly Hills and these versions of $30 and $50 million homes. Newport, Rhode Island is a different level than that. It's a massive lawn estate with the home on the middle of it, and the home is a castle. It's 20 rooms.
How far away from New York is Newport, Rhode Island?
I don't know. Not that far, though.
Yeah, that's right. That's what all those mansions are. It's like people who live in New York or work in New York, right?
It was once upon a time. Yeah, like the Vanderbilts. Yeah. That kind of era, that's where they would vacation. Now I think Judge Judy, who's way wealthier than you would expect. Taylor Swift, Jay Leno.
Taylor Knox.
Taylor Knox has a house there?
He was just saying that, Sid was just saying that Jay Leno just moved in recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's why his name was on my mind. Yeah. All right, I got a follow-up listener line call from last week. Let me play it for you.
Charlie, David Lee Scales, Tyler Conroy here. Your last show, talking a lot about fatherhood, dads and surfing, things like that. And I myself just had my second child about 4 days ago, and the waves have been absolutely pumping. So I wanted to know, when is it okay to ask your wife if you can go surfing? Is it today? Is it in 2 weeks? Do I have to wait a month? Let me know what you think. Right on. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Later.
Great question, Pat O'Connell. What was his name?
Tyler Conroy.
Tyler Conroy. Great question. And here I have a great answer for you. Right away is the time to go surfing, because what you're going to do is this idea of guilt building up between partners. You nip that in the bud right now. You say, hey, I'm going to go surfing because I can. Waves are pumping. I know that you are stuck now, but what I'm going to do is I owe you, right? And I'm not going to be mad or grumpy or grouchy when you go on girls' weekend, or, if she's sporty, when you go, snowboarding or whatever you do, I got you, right? This idea of grouch building between partners is just, don't even, aside from being straight up rude, going out for multiple nights in a row or never being home or whatever, but in the going for a surf, going to make you happy. you're going to be better because you're happy. She'll have more help because you're happy. And then also when she wants to do something, you'll be like, hey, you go, I got this. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, if you're not waking up in the middle of the night to help out, and then you're waking up at 5:30 to go dawn patrol it, and you don't come back home until 9, and then you're straight off to work and you're not helping at all, that's a problem.
Sure.
But the fact that Tyler's even calling in to ask this question indicates he's not that guy.
Means he's thoughtful.
Correct.
He's thoughtful about it. But Tyler, yeah, just say, wife, I know, I know that this must sting a little. I got to go surfing. I got you though on the back end. Like,
agreed.
When you want to do something next, I've got you.
So I have a feeling that, so when you're gone away from the kid in these early days, you feel an anxiety, like what's not getting done or not getting handled. Even if you stay home 24/7 with the kid, you still have that anxiety.
Sure.
And so you're not actually going to quell that anxiety by staying home with the kid. But what you will end up doing is going stir crazy. Being home for, let's say, 3 days, maybe it's 2, without leaving the house for whatever the reason is. Maybe you're sick, maybe you're not, maybe you got a new kid in the house. Staying home for 48 hours is crazy making.
Yeah.
You get depressed. And so it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the kid. It's not good for your spouse. So I fully agree with you. Go out, get in the sun. Surfing's a great way to spend the 2 hours.
Yep.
So Tyler, go.
Go surfing today. Go surfing yesterday too.
Agreed. And then make sure that she has her opportunities to do that as well.
Exactly. Like the grousing, like when I see dads who are on dad duty grousing about, having to be with the kid or the wife being away, rude.
Yep.
Don't ever grouse. Just do, unless there's like a real crazy imbalance of somebody being massively selfish.
Of course.
But in the realm of normal stuff, don't be a grump. The wife would always get mad. Anytime when we first had our daughter, if I said I was babysitting, you are not babysitting. This is your child. Like when I'm away and you are with her, you're not babysitting. You are caring for your child.
I hear people make that distinction too, and I'm not sure I agree with it because I'd have to look up the actual definition of babysitting.
I mean,
I think you can babysit your own kid.
I mean, you would.
Does it
literally be you are sitting, your baby.
Yeah.
All great. But I do think that the implied,
there's an implication.
The usage is that you are doing it for somebody else's, you are looking after somebody else's child.
I agree there's an implication. I'm not sure that it's actually built into the definition or if we just.
I'm going to say usage though. Usage has defined.
Okay.
Just like literally now, I think literally means theoretically. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Or figuratively.
I had another thought. So I have not surfed in the 2 weeks and 1 day that Austin has been born.
It has been pumping.
Man, so I took the dog to the beach, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So I could have surfed during that window, but the dog that's a whole nother thing. Acclimating the dog to the baby, which has gone flawlessly and they're fast friends, but the dog needs attention too. So in that afternoon, I was like, the dog needs one-on-one time. So I took her to the beach, but the waves were pumping. I was like tripping.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is my perspective on all things has changed. And surfing has lost a little bit of its importance.
Seeing those pumping waves though, did it remind you that, oh man, I got to get out there. Mm-hmm. I've got to get out there.
It did, but it wasn't as strong of a feeling as it would have been.
You didn't have FOMO?
2 weeks prior. Less FOMO than it would have been 2 weeks prior.
Did you have a little FOMO?
Yeah, completely. But, so then the extension of that is us getting together to talk about surfing.
Instead of surfing.
Is frivolous.
Yeah.
And I mean, it always was frivolous and we've always acknowledged that it's frivolous, but now it just seems silly. And even when I read about surfing online or I watch whatever, I'm just like, this is so ridiculous. This is so meaningless.
Yep.
And not that I don't want to do it anymore. It just seems so absurd that we've ever gotten upset about anything at all.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, but that's the beauty of it. That's always
totally
been the beauty. And yeah, you'll get to see it even more clearly now, which makes it even funnier, which makes it even feel better to get upset about stuff. Yeah. It's a real joy now because you're really full well knowing that you are doing something so absurd and are fully aware of it.
Back to Veterans Day. When I think about my younger brothers and like the very real thing that they're doing, and how serious it is, and people's lives that are literally at stake. You know, it's like, wow, okay, there's a weight behind that, and wow, okay, I'm gonna get serious while I think about that. And I think about what I do. I'm
surf podcasting.
This thing over here is such a joke. How do I even come up with topics for you and I to talk about? Because it's all stupid.
I mean, it's so
dumb.
That's why every time I write the word surf journalist, I chuckle.
Somebody DM'd me last week. I should probably pull it up because I don't want to misquote it, but it was like, the fact that Chaz even talks about surf journalism, like, why does he take it so seriously? And I go, no. I'm sure you missed the joke. We've probably said it was a joke a dozen times over the years, but no, it's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Even using the handle surf journalism is sarcasm.
I mean, it's an oxymoron.
Yes.
Like surf journalism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Funny.
By the way, one final thing on when Tyler can go surfing. The week before we had our kid, I was talking to Scott Bass on the podcast, and he was like, I'm going to give you, he was totally earnest.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going to give you advice. I go, okay, great. I'm so curious to hear what his advice is. He's like, as soon as you guys get home from the hospital, you should go on a surf trip. And I'm like, what? He goes, I did it for both my kids 3 days after they were born. My wife doesn't want me, like, I'm in her way. She has tons of family coming over to help. So she has the help that she needs. It's not like I'm abandoning her and she's left to her own devices. But yeah, and you're just in the way, basically. So just get out of the way and go on a surf trip. You'll be happier. They'll be happier. And I was like, what? Like, first of all, I fully believe that your wife wanted you out of the house. Like, there's no question.
Yeah.
Put your wife on. I'm sure she will absolutely back up everything you said. It's not as if your interpretation is wrong. I'm sure Scott's interpretation was spot on. She wanted him gone. But you couldn't kick me out of the house. I don't care how good the waves are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss these days.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It was amazing.
That's very, very funny. Was Scott confused about your response?
I don't think so.
He was like, okay, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I think he is, him saying that was perfectly Scott Bass.
Yeah.
And me being offended by it is perfectly me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how different we are.
Love that Scott Bass, though.
I know. Hilarious, right?
Very funny.
Yeah. But I wish I had more of him in me. No jokes. Like, because I should be surfing right now.
Yeah.
2 weeks in, I should have been surfing. And the fact that I'm not, I'm probably going to go crazy because of it.
I mean, is it still pumping up?
I don't know.
Orange
So I haven't
County
even
way?
been checking it.
It looks like it's, my drive up today did not look like it has been.
I just ordered a new 4.3 from Neat Essentials.
Nice.
So I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Good.
Not that I don't have wetsuits already. A couple of things that are worth talking about in this episode today. Foil retribution in San Francisco. The drive-through drama, which I did not read your stories about, but I'm super curious because we talked about the drive-through last
Sure
week.
did.
And then Chloe Andino, Stab Magazine is claiming there's a bidding war for Chloe Andino. The story there is anybody worth a bidding war at this point?
Wow.
Where should we start with any of these topics?
Let's go.
And is Gabriel Medina and Italo Ferreira related?
Related.
Did you figure that out last week with your surf journalism?
Somebody told me that Ferreira's like Smith in Brazil. So,
But some Smiths are related.
Sure, I'm related to Smiths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet.
Don't know.
All right. We'll continue on that story later.
As it
More
develops.
to come.
What was the first?
So foil retribution.
Foil retribution was like that little nugget of a story encapsulated so much of, to me, what's happening both in surf, big and small, what's happening in the Bay Area, big and small, and what's happening, I guess.
Micro and macro.
Exactly. Micro and macro of, for sure, that foiler dude. Because so the story is there was a guy leashless on his foil who, and somebody commented in the beach grit, who was anyway out at Fort Point, Fort Point, under the Golden Gate Bridge there. On his leashless foil being towed in with a ski. And
not a ski, a boat.
A boat. Was it a boat?
It was a boat.
Okay, so a boat.
If you could believe it.
So, and then his foil, he wiped out his foil, got caught in the surf, washed up onto the rocks, and angry local went and picked up a rock and started trying to smash the foil board. So that's the story. Somebody in Beach Creek comments was there apparently before and saw the dude. He said he was there like last week or something out the back, like way out the back, just, you know, foiling, like not in the surf zone. So, and this commenter was saying, man, I was thinking at the time, you know, you're fine out there, but if you come in at all, like there's going to be real problems. And so clearly this dude wiped out his foil board, guillotines through the lineup onto the rocks. Somebody's angry, smashes it, right? For sure. What are the chances that he works for Facebook or inspired by Mark Zuckerberg? Like the idea of foiling taking off. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal about Kai Lenny and his brother Cliff, I think his name.
I'm not sure.
Something. It's not Cliff. Something. Kai and someone. Lenny. Want to make foils as ubiquitous in the water as electric scooters are on land. They want it to be like a way to commute, right? And I don't think they meant in the surf zone. I think what was meant was you could commute, you know, I don't know, around Manhattan or whatever on a foil, right? Or on an e-foil in particular, I suppose.
Take the waterway instead of through the city.
Yeah, like if you needed, you know, if you're need to get downtown, you just zip in the water on your foil. Oh, great. You know, there's places where theoretically, I suppose you could commute. But anyway, like foil and the idea of foiling taking off with Mark Zuckerberg being the poster child of it, right? Like of this super, like a thing that very wealthy people are taking up as their hobby. And so clearly you'd have to think this San Francisco guy was some tech guy, right? Who was out there being a numbskull, and good that he got his board smashed.
It looks...
His board didn't even get smashed.
It didn't?
Like a tough board.
Did
you watch the video?
It did look tough, but the video's terrible quality.
Yeah.
Like that thing, the rock was bouncing off of it. It never broke the board in half, but I would think was putting big, huge
You'd think.
Dents in the board or even busting through the lamination.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good chance if he lives in San Francisco, he works in tech, period. But you could also tell he didn't know what he was doing. Like he looked very unconfident, unsure.
You saw video of him actually foiling out there?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Okay.
I'll send it to you. The boat, it shows video of the boat whipping him into the wave.
Whoa.
Towing him in.
Like, and there's surfers out there?
Yes.
That's gnarly. Where is this footage?
I'll send it. Gothic Dolphins.
Oh.
How good is Gothic?
It's the Gothic Dolphins is a must follow. It's one of the best Instagram sites around.
They're under followed. They're
way under followed.
Yeah.
Every time I see one of their posts, I'm so shocked.
Who is it?
I have no idea. Really, really good though.
Yeah, they only have 4,500 followers. And Devin, I think, is friends with them because Devin knows who it is. And I was like, who is that? And he goes, I don't want to tell you. They'd prefer to stay anonymous.
Good on them.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to send it to you.
Crazy town though. I can't believe, I thought the guy was just was out beyond the surf break, maybe wiped out close enough to the wave where his board got caught and, you know.
So they show the boat towing him in. It looks like a fishing boat. The waves are actually pretty good too out there, like double overhead. So the boat tows him into a set and it doesn't show him wipe out, but you look at how uneasy he is. He's kind of tentative on his feet. He's got a helmet and a GoPro on the helmet.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe he got whipped in.
Straight into the lineup with surfers. And so then the next thing they show is it on the beach. So apparently he ate it and then the foil ends up on the beach.
Oh my goodness.
By the way, Pizel texted me last night to tell me it's called toiling.
Toiling.
Because it's toe
foiling. Toiling. He was toiling in.
He was toiling.
I mean, what? So that's the thing. Okay, so does this kook, I mean, I think that is the dictionary definition of a kook right there, right? Like 100%. You're being a total numbskull. You're being dangerous to both yourself and to others. You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what sort of the cultural norms that you're breaking are. Correct. On down the line, right? Correct. Did this guy learn a lesson? Will he go back?
Great question.
Chastened and ashamed? Or is he like, are these kind of super rich tech guys, is there no lesson that they can learn?
If the picture you've drawn of him is accurate, then there's no lesson he can learn.
Like
he can go buy a new foil. He can afford it. He probably didn't even go to the beach. He probably just swam out to the boat. The boat swung in and picked him up. he can even leave the boat behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just like, leave the foil. I'll just get another one. I'll show up tomorrow. Who cares? Look at those chimpanzees on the beach.
Do you think he will show up though? I mean, do you think that guy will go back out to,
I would hope
to
not.
Fort Point?
There's two big errors here. Foiling in a crowded lineup and towing in a crowded lineup.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, so
you can't tow
whammy.
anything in a crowded lineup, period. And the least thing that you should tow in a crowded lineup is a foil.
Yeah.
Because of the hatchet on it. It's super dangerous. And he wasn't wearing a leash, and the thing ran through the lineup. Clearly, if it ended up on the beach, that was the worst case scenario. That thing cartwheeling through the lineup.
It is unbelievable.
So
it is unbelievable. Like
it really is.
And this is why, for anybody who gets grumpy about localism, like stinking the inertias of the world, who are like, oh, it's all blah, 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 let's all have. This is why localism is important. This is why it matters. This is why there needs to be some semblance of law and order or rule to follow in every lineup.
This is why surfing is also still great.
Yeah.
Is that we have localism and everything. If you're just playing basketball at the park, there can't be enforcers in the way that locals are enforcers, because you'll get sued and there's police that'll get called and all that sort of stuff. The ocean is kind of the last bastion of it. Laws still apply, but it's kind of like we're out here. We've braved these elements. Police officers can't brave these elements. The baddest police officers on the planet can't show up and paddle out here and enforce anything. They can wait till we get to the beach and enforce it. But the sheer virtue of the fact that we've braved these elements, we're in our own world out here. And there's a code of conduct. And the code of conduct that I grew up with was pure and true.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, if you got punched, there was a reason you got punched.
Yeah, nobody was out. I mean, there's the odd person who's a little too frothy in the lineup, like screaming at everybody and whatnot. But generally, like if a guy's just like screaming at everybody and being a weirdo, then he'll get told to pipe down, or she'll get told to pipe down.
And you won't get punched first. You'll get told to pipe down first, and you could choose whether or not to respect that, and then you'll get punched. And applying that code of ethics, I was able to travel around the world and surf even localized spots without getting into any trouble, because I respected the rules.
You didn't paddle to the peak and drop in on the first best good wave and
never had a problem.
Hoot and holler, yeah.
And I always felt, every single time, I always felt very nervous and cautious, knowing that somebody might say something, and I know I'm likely to get burned too. And I wouldn't say anything if I got burned, because that's just the way this works. So anyways, yes, the macro version of this is Zuckerberg showing up and buying a bunch of land in Kauai and then foiling around and advertising it to everybody, which then inspires this guy.
Yep.
So yeah, this guy thinking, I just have impunity. I've never been told no. I'm just going to show up. I don't care what the rules are. I'm just going to show up and do my thing here. What's great about surfing is we're going to take your toy away and break it.
Yeah, on the rocks. I mean, that's really is.
You can't, if you're in the city, you can't take his Tesla away and break it. Maybe homeless people will actually smash windows or something like that. I could see that happening, but that's why surfing's still great.
It made me, that whole video and that whole scene made me proud. And it also made me angry at, again, those out there like the Inertia who are...
Did they have a stance on it?
Not on this one, but but the general, advocating that locals are bad and localism is a great evil, right? Like that we need to get rid of this. I mean, that's the Inertia's always stance, right? Let's just all have fun, and we need to be just kooks, and the kooks are the ones having fun. Let's just blah, blah, blah. Like no. Localism is what makes surfing fun.
Yes, I agree. I think it's hard for me to fully co-sign. There's definitely bad actors. You know what I mean? And so it's hard for me to co-sign, but in this exact scenario, it's totally okay.
I mean, it's the best thing ever.
I can't say it's always okay to smash somebody's board if they do something you don't like, because that's the other thing is, who's really a local these days? And so there's a lot of people listening who are like, yeah, I've been surfing my spot for 5 years. Like, next guy that shows up, I'm going to tell him what's up because I'm a local now, And it's just like that gets into all this gray area.
I'm going to say it's always okay to smash somebody's board if their board deserved to be smashed.
But who decides?
Well, I mean, I think if it's a foil that ends up on the beach, then that's 100% deserved to be smashed. If it's a longboard that ends up on the beach without a leash, then I think it's 50-50.
it's circumstantial. Each
not
situation.
on the, not on the beach. I take that back. But there's
it depends where you are.
There's places like people will like full on kooks, and I'm all for, surf leashless, like surf your longboard leashless, but be good enough to control it. Like there is summer Cardiff, tons of kids playing on the beach, kooks out there on 10 footers, wiping out on every wave basically, where it's a log, a literal and figurative log, rolling rail over rail towards kids building sandcastles. Like it's not cool. It is absolutely not cool.
Cardiff, you're right. Cardiff now, you can't do that anymore. There's too many kids on the beach. But there are, look, Devin Howard knows how to surf.
Devin Howard can surf leashless all day long.
And he eats it. He posted a video like last year and he got a bunch of flack in the comments section where people were like, put a leash on, kook, and giving him a hard time. But it's like,
I'm talking about the people like who wipe out multiple times per session.
Exactly.
Like if you wipe out once every, not just wipe out, but if your board tumbles to the beach once every, couple sessions, fine, surf without a leash. But if it's 4 times a session, put a damn leash on. You don't know how to surf.
So there's some gray area, but the non-gray area is towing in a crowded lineup
and foiling
on anything.
Yeah.
And foiling in a crowded lineup.
Yep.
You get SUPing in a crowded lineup, like even that I would throw in there where you're liable to get told off in that scenario. So
I really do. I would love for the identity of the foiler to be made known.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah. I was going to almost talk about Jonah Hill's body right there. Whew. Good thing I stopped myself.
Oh yeah. Different physique for sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So we're both barrel on the foil retribution.
Yes. Big barrel.
I'm wondering, I agree. Identities. I would love to know who the foiler was and who the grumpy local was.
Yeah. Grumpy local should get a trophy. Foiler should have his surf card pulled anywhere. Like any time he paddles out anywhere now, foil or not.
Dude, that'd be great retribution is getting a photo of that guy and putting it up on social media. Like, hey,
don't let this guy surf.
Well, let him surf. You have full right to burn this guy no matter where he is in the world for the next 4 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm
sweet.
Fine with that.
In.
And then the dude who did the rock smashing, give him a set wave next time you see him.
Yep.
Here's his face, set wave.
Yep.
And what's great about that is he did not throw the rock at the foiler's head. He wasn't beating up the foiler.
He was just...
So that's the one other little caveat here is when we see localism videos, if it's a beating, sometimes I'm like when you see the footage of Kala punching out some tourist.
Yeah.
I see that and I'm like, that tourist really didn't know what, doesn't even know what he did wrong, probably.
I'm sure the foiler didn't either.
Which is maybe why he didn't get punched out. But
I'm sure you're right. He didn't go to the beach at all. He got in his boat and went and left.
So I guess watching Kala punch out the tourist, I feel like is Kala trying to send a message to all tourists.
Yeah.
And the guy who's getting his tooth knocked out doesn't know. He's like, I don't know what I did wrong. And can you just tell me what I did wrong first? And I'll listen to you and I'll back off and I'll never be back again. But Kala's like, I'm not going to tell you anything. I need to teach you a lesson, And so I watched that footage and I'm like, the crime or the retribution outsizes the crime a little bit. So I'm not.
But maybe the guy was like totally in that particular video was totally non-apologetic.
Maybe.
And also was just like, yeah,
I wonder about
you and your rules.
I wonder about all that when I watch those videos.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason why I feel that way is Kala is just hyper aggressive. We know that, and he's looking for a fight. And so then I feel like, well, whoever ends up on the receiving end very well may not deserve it. So I can co-sign localism, but there are bad actors. And you look at that and you're like, God, it seems like he's really going out and looking for blood, right? So I sympathize with the victim in that scenario. But with the foil video, it's like the guy wasn't getting punched. All that was happening was his foil was getting smashed, and we saw the crime, and the crime was so significant that this is a fair retribution.
I really can't believe that he was towing in on a boat.
A boat. A fishing boat.
That is crazy.
I know.
In a crowded lineup.
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
That foiler needs to be outed.
Shamed publicly, all of it.
Yep.
Fully agree. So a couple of things that we can tie together here. Did you watch Snapped 4 yet?
I haven't, but I'm going to.
It's unreal.
Yeah. Is it just
It's
phenomenal?
spectacular.
Yeah.
It is spectacular.
I saw Derek post it last night and was
Okay.
thinking, okay, I've got to watch this.
It's phenomenal. Logan Doolian is behind it. It's a throwback to the classic 90s era surf film where it's 45 minutes of pure high shreddability. Not a lot of hijinks, not a lot of gimmicks, just epic shredding with awesome music.
Who is the star?
Great question. There's a ton. Everybody from Seth Moniz, Jack Robinson, Clay Marzo, Benji Brand gets the opening segment. Benji Brand, I'm not kidding. That guy, he doesn't have the most complete section because he's not doing crazy airs or anything, but his barrel prowess is unreal. The very first opening shot is this slow-mo water shot at Pipeline of a wave that most people would dodge because it wasn't like the wide gaping one. It had a bunch of froth on the face, and it's so hard to surf. I've surfed way lesser waves, but that same style where it's like not a round barrel where you're sitting at the bottom. He's like tracking or like gripping the face of it the whole ride, like on the edge of his surfboard, just like holding on by the rail in one fin, kind of like knifing through the whole thing, but it's all froth. And he's still holding that knife line, never going to the bottom. And the waves running fast too.
And so is he pumping?
No, he's just like on that knife line, holding it as the waves running, but just committed to that line.
Love it.
And in the slow-mo really allows you to appreciate it. It was the moment where I'm like, man, rarely does film capture what you witness when you're actually paddling out and seeing all these tiny molecules of water moving. And this is the closest thing to capturing that. And mad respect for Benji. That was a wave nobody wanted because it's so hard to ride, and he surfed it flawlessly. And that's the opening wave, and then the rest of his section is just like double, triple overhead dredging crazy barrels.
Oh, man. I love that surf movie seems like it's kind of gone back to this a bit with Snap 4 and then the Kolohe, Reckless Isolation. This idea of just like guys, just clips set to good music.
Yeah.
Like it's great. It's great that this sort of thing is back for a minute.
Well, it got tired because it was just so overdone for so long. And I think not well done for a long time. Everybody just thought, I'm going to put my clips together, but they weren't discerning about their clips. There were B clips and C clips.
And I think the problem also was that it's harder to do for a single athlete unless that athlete or surfer is like crazy, right? Like John Florence can do a profile film, but for a while it seemed like everyone was doing profile films, but they're guys who should have had an epic section in a movie like Snap 4, not a full profile film.
Totally. And the other thing is there's now so many guys that have unbelievable talent that you can make a full film about them.
Yeah.
You can have 30 surfers in this film, and they're all A clips. I can't say that Jack Robinson's clip is better than Benji Brand's clip, nor is it better than Clay Marzo's clip, nor is it better than Carlos Munoz, So the other detail about this, so first of all, the reason why this was able to happen was Fuser underwrote it. They're the head sponsor. They seem to put a ton of money into flying some surfers around the world and actually producing it.
Getting good clips, not just getting what they had.
Exactly. Taking these surfers to locations where they could actually get world-class waves. The other reason, or the other thing that's worth talking about here is the lack of stickers on their boards.
Yeah.
All those guys I just named, other than the Moniz and Robinson, don't have stickers on their boards. And they're surfing better than $1 million athletes were a few years ago. And so they did an interview with Kolohe about Reckless Isolation. And they said throughout it that his contract's coming up with Hurley, and there's a bidding war for Kolohe Andino coming out of the Olympics, plus Reckless Isolation. The popularity of that because he toured it through all the surf shops and really like created this groundswell of support that we haven't seen done in a long time. So there's a couple of surf brands now that are vying for that sticker on his board. And I'm great for Kolohe. I don't want to take a paycheck away from him by any means, but I'm looking at it going, who is worth bidding on now other than Idolo and Gabriel?
Well,
I'd have a hard time justifying a big spend on almost anybody.
I mean, more to the point, which brands out there have the money to spend? I mean, it is clothing brands are not nearly what they were, right? Like this is not any longer.
Vans.
I mean, there's Vans.
You can name them.
There's Vans. There's, I think Billabong may have some.
Well, they've got Griffin,
and Idolo.
Right. So a world champ. But I mean, Griffin is Chloe Andino. He's a regular foot from the same town doing the same ththings.
Yeah.
And he's he's got more
upside.
Well, he's still in the ascent. Chloe's just married. He has a kid. I would venture to say Chloe will never win a world title. I'll say that right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You
I mean, stinking. If
he hasn't yet,
it was Julian Wilson who went on record saying nobody's going to win but Brazilians for the rest of our lifetime.
Right. And so, and again, stickerless board there too. And would you spend money on Julian at this point?
No.
Like if I was a brand, I'd have a hard time justifying a significant spend. Yeah, you can go head to toe Oakley.
Yep.
Maybe.
But they're not going to spend a bunch of money. I mean, that's the thing is like whatever quote, air quote, bidding war, you know.
I found that to be silly.
Yeah. I mean, it's a silly thing to say.
I don't know if it's true.
Right. It is a silly thing to write. Even if I suppose the bidding war could be for real low dollar amounts.
True.
But that's not what we typically call a bidding war.
No.
When people are there's people want them. Like that's the thing. I think Kolohe packing out surf shops, that's great for a brand, right? Where you can pack out if you get Kolohe to churn out a movie a year, say, and tour it, or a movie every 2 years and tour it through all your your biggest retail accounts, there's real value added there, right?
Yeah.
But again, there's no, or not no, but the companies aren't what they were.
No, I agree. You want to find a guy who's willing to do all of their own self-promotion and all the hard work like Chloe did with that. And I don't see that there's a lot of other guys who would be willing to do that.
Well, a lot of it would too depend on how much longer his Red Bull contract is going, because it was Red Bull who underwrote that whole reckless isolation, right? And so the brand gets to coast on Red Bull spend, right? Which is what Red Bull does. Like, good on them. They're good at doing that, right? They're good at events. They're good at promoting events. They're good at, Kolohe couldn't have done that by himself. If Kolohe would have said,
I think Kolohe made the film on his own, and then Red Bull got behind it. So he took the initial ambition.
Definitely. And nothing against Kolohe, but those kinds of tours is what Red Bull is really good at doing. That kind of tour doesn't really happen without Red Bull. And so if you're a brand who's going to sign Kolohe, you would also need to know that, okay, he's with Red Bull for X amount more years. And with Red Bull, they have a plan to do, X amount of film.
I guess as the brand, if you're looking to spend money and there's this quote bidding war, if I'm the brand, would I be trying to outbid another company to go, we're going to put all our money on this? I would have the opposite stance. I would say, we're going to give you a third of what you were making before, and you should be grateful for it, because if you're not, Carlos Munoz, I'm going to give you half of what I was going to give that third of Kolohe. The question is, will Carlos pack out surf shops? Will he have the ambition to make his own film, go and stoke out the community? And I don't think Carlos will. I mean, so you find who is that guy, and right now Kolohe is that guy. But would you pay him the $1 million he was making?
I think Kolohe is a great ambassador.
He's a great ambassador,
a perfect ambassador. Even I also just think that the brands just don't have just flat out don't have the money they once did.
They don't, but good on Kolohe for leveraging, for first of all, having the ambition, for number two, leveraging his relationship with Red Bull to actually do a tour, because that's what their strength is. And for any of those other surfers that are stickerless, step up with your ambition.
But it's really would be hard. I mean, like Snap 4 I'm sure will tour, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
And who did I talk? There's another one that's going to tour also that's being made right now. But this idea of the shop tour again is a thing, right? Or
awesome.
Or totally great. But you've got to have a big enough, I guess, social following. Imagine as a surfer, like first you got to make the film, and then to tour the film, you better, I guess if you have a banger film, it can kind of sell itself, but you better have great social following or have people who have great social followings, like it's a whole thing, right? Like I think it seems easy when it comes together, but I think it's really, really, really hard to get people out of their houses.
I agree. I don't think it would work for a lot of other surfers. Kolohe leveraged Luke Davis. So the cast of characters in the film, Ian Crane, Luke Davis, Crosby, and Griffin Colapinto, and all of their social following to then come out and support these things. So it worked for Kolohe, but for Carlos Munoz, something else will work for him.
Sure.
And he needs to figure out what his strength is, and then leverage all those things to do his own thing. I just don't see people having the ambition that Kolohe had to do all those things. I still don't think it justifies a quote unquote bidding war. Even something as little as a vlog, like the Coffin Brothers had Young Wise Tales back in the day. That was super innovative. It was ambitious. It took a bunch of work. It was really worth watching, all that sort of stuff. Those guys could do something like that again. That would give them, they're a great little duo. They're great surfers. People would watch that.
Do you think there's space for another vlog, or do you think the bar to entry is like now it'd be too hard to populate it and all that?
I should be watching them.
Yeah.
I know a lot of our listeners watch them and stay current every week with Nathan Florence and Koa Smith or Koa Rothman.
Ben Gravy.
Less Ben Gravy, like I was going to say, like the Coffin Brothers' strength is their surfing, but there are the Koa Rothmans and the Nathan Florences of the world that are also surfing well. Nick Von Rupp, I think, has a great series. So I'm not up to date with, I don't think it's saturated though. To answer your question, I think there's more room. And like Parker's so funny.
Yeah, Parker's
he's
really,
a
really
great
funny
character.
Yep.
Which brings us to the drive-through.
Yes.
So Benji Weatherly, I kind of talked crap last week. I feel bad about it. I was saying, like, is he just rehashing his old shtick? Which I still agree. Like, I don't know that the drive-through is going to work, but more Benji, please. Yeah. I always want to see more Benji. Your story on Beach Grit was related to the WSL, and I didn't read the story. You can explain it to me, but I think he's underutilized.
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
WSL could use him.
For sure. I mean, well, so here's the problem. So as it goes, Benji actually went on his Instagram. I think it said non-truths from Beach Grit or something about the article the article. But I have from a verifiable source, Derek's version, the rumor that Derek heard was not altogether accurate. I mean, it was accurate in spirit. The version that is true is that the WSL had rights to it, right? They were WSL. It was going to be a WSL Studios thing. The drive-through, right? Ready to go. Everything was signed off on. They were in a production meeting, and somebody, all WSL people on the phone or on the Zoom, on the call, whatever. Somebody said, like the whatever promotions person, whoever's in charge of that, said, hey, you guys need to leverage your social media and all this stuff, just the general stuff of like, to promote this thing. Benji said, well, I know I can promote it, laughing. I'll steal Kelly's phone and post a dick pic, something like that, right? Said it in jest. I guess somebody from HR at WSL was on the phone, took it all the way up to the top. I don't know.
Are you kidding me?
And they killed it. That was it. They dropped the franchise dropped their thing based on that. So then, thankfully Fuel is helping to make it happen now. But yeah, it was a WSL production until Benji made one joke.
Classic.
I mean,
so whether or not this is true, we're talking about it. I want it to be true.
This
makes perfect sense. Remember, I told you last week, I didn't have that bit of information, but I said Benji and somebody else bought the rights back from Fuel.
They did.
And they were going to make this happen. And then they had a falling out.
It was with WSL, though.
So now that makes sense.
It was with
now we know who it was and what the reason was.
With the WSL, and it's because Benji made a joke. Amazing. A surf joke.
So, okay, so you wrote that article, but then you said Benji went to Instagram and said untruths from Beach Grit?
Something like that. But because
did he address it?
No, because that's the true version that I just said. Derek's version was that something like Derek heard the rumor, but it wasn't like there was parts of it that were true, but it was like that the WSL gave, which may also be true, that WSL gave Benji a list of things he could not do or something, and he went back. But
I'm Team Benji.
Yeah, the version that I have is verifiably true.
Okay, so
the version I just shared.
The WSL is probably right, considering what they're trying to do as a entity. This is a liability for them, and so they might have been right to not proceed with production because Benji is a wild card. But the drive-through should never be a WSL production.
I mean, or the WSL should recognize that it is a World Surf League Studios and that it's worth, there's got to be some kind of risk here, right? Like it's totally worth.
Clearly not what they're doing.
I mean, but if no risk is acceptable, if Benji saying a joke about somebody he knows well, Benji and Kelly are friends. It's not like Benji was actually going to do that, right? Benji said a very Benji Weatherly thing, right?
Right.
If you are so uptight as a league, as an organization, you have no business in surf at all. Like at that point, Dirk Ziff, Eric Logan, everyone should say, we don't belong. If our acceptable risk is Benji Weatherly saying a joke, not even he didn't say like, I'm going to do something to Kelly. There's no like anti-trans or anti-gay or there's nothing.
It's a slippery slope though. But once you get a dick involved, it's a slippery slope.
Well, so saying the word dick, then if that's your level of comfort, anything above that we're not comfortable with, get out of surfing. It is time. It's time to fold.
Correct. You are absolutely correct.
Yes,
that's where we're at.
That's
who's running surfing.
But the World Surf League though should look at this incident and say, really look maybe for the first time internally and say, we just don't have it. We don't have if Dirk Ziff was benevolent, which let's say he is, just give it back. Give it to someone. Give it to somebody who has a slightly higher risk tolerance than you, knowing full well that there's no risk tolerance. What can be made? What could be made that would be interesting?
Nothing.
With
nothing.
Zero risk tolerance.
Well, nothing. But this is where we're at. We've defined it over and over again on the show. And I'll go back to the same tired analogy of the UFC. They take the risk.
Yeah.
They made a decision 10, 15 years ago that they're going to lean into the pugilism. And they've thrived because of it, because there's no other way for that sport to exist without leaning into the blood and the gore. And so I'm saying I agree with your sentiment that the WSL will never achieve the profitability and the growth that they want to achieve unless they lean into Benji Weatherly's dick joke.
What makes precisely? I mean, that is precisely it. And if you're not willing to do that, or you can't do that,
then it's not surfing.
And fine, like that's okay. Admit to yourself that you are not ever going to make this thing happen, and get out. Like it doesn't need to.
They don't. First of all, they don't understand what surfing is, so they don't understand what you and I are talking about. But they're missing the point from the get-go.
But I feel that explained clearly like that, you could sit down and have a moment of introspection and really think, okay, am I willing to handle what is this organization capable of handling one Benji Weatherly dick joke? And if it's not, which it's not, then we are in the wrong space. We are in the wrong space. We're not going to change surfing. And if we're not going to allow surfing to change us, then we need to pack it up.
The difference.
Keep the part that they like. Keep the Kelly wave pool, that technology, transition basically into that being your only business, and just unload the tour, unload the studios, get rid of everything else.
The difference is a visionary leader. So I think Dana White is a visionary who's going to get out there. He's going to do what he's going to do. And Steve Jobs, like those types of Elon Musk, will go on Joe Rogan and smoke a joint. Did you see his tweet this past week?
Elon's?
Yeah.
No.
We'll talk about it in Barrel or Not. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Excited. But I will.
So that's what we need in surfing is somebody who understands surfing so well, and then they stick to that goal.
I've heard this multiple times. There's just way too many cooks in the kitchen at the WSL that nobody ever has sign off on anything.
Agreed, yes.
And it doesn't really, it ends up at Ziff, but Ziff's not, like
there needs to be a visionary in the CEO position.
But who's empowered? Because
exactly,
I would imagine that I can't.
Well, if he had the vision, you would empower him, but he's not that pointed in his vision.
But here's the thing. I can't imagine that Eric Logan would have been offended by a Benji Weatherly joke, right? Eric Logan.
Well, maybe not personally, but Eric Logan is a corporate guy who's protecting the corporate interests
sure,
more than he is trying to hit that end goal.
I mean, I suppose, but protecting the corporate interests, I don't know. Like, I bet he's not empowered. I bet things have to go up to.
I think
Ziff
they would empower.
less.
I think they would empower him if he had that focused of a vision.
I mean, I just don't. If again, drive-through will be rated. Will not be rated, but a light PG-13, right? Like
totally.
At worst PG-13, if it was going to be rated.
Yes, totally.
Like there'll be some fart jokes, some poo-poo words, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And so if you're not willing to put out a PG-13, like if everything has to be, I mean, let's just assume everything has to be G.
Yeah.
Then that's crazy town.
It is crazy town. And there's no such thing as bad publicity. The drive-through, I'm now infinitely more interested to watch it than I was last week.
Yeah.
And again, more interested in Benji Weatherly and tracking him than I was last week.
Good on Fuel for finding a real diamond here.
Yeah, and by the way, lean into this.
Yeah.
Like play up this controversy.
I think Fuel will.
I'd be making dick memes right now if I was Fuel.
Yep.
So, all right, good. Well, more to come on that story as well.
Yep.
I think we should maybe go to Barrel or Nah and then come back.
Let's do it.
I meant maybe we should go to commercial and then come back with Barrel or Nah.
Even better.
All right, Chaz, back from commercial break.
Exciting.
Do you remember last week, Anthony, AKA Austin, called in and asked about changing your kid's name? And we're like, I'm curious, would he have preferred to been called Austin?
Did he come back?
Yeah, he called back. You want to hear it?
Yes.
What's up, guys? It's Anthony, a.k.a. Austin, formerly. Called in about last week's Barrel or Nah, changing your child's name after 2 weeks. I just wanted to call in and offer some insight on how it was going through life with a revised name. When I tell people the story about being renamed after 2 weeks, they usually say, yeah, you're definitely Anthony. It's 95% of the time, and I think that's because you grow into a name. You kind of become it. So that being said, your parents can alter your path in life just by the name that they give you. So I think it says a lot more about the parents when you name the kid. That kid's going to grow into that name throughout their life. So it really, I've always thought this, it says more about the parents than it does the child. And I agree. I agree that it should be more commonplace. I think it's we're going to look back in a couple thousand years and say, dang, they really named people before they even came out of the womb. Yeah, I think it's going to be the new thing. So super big barrel on changing your kid's name. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm out.
Anthony. So thoughtful.
Proudly, Anthony.
Profound little nuggets here on the grit today.
I think he's got something. There's something to that. You are really creating a trajectory for your kid.
Sure.
Like your wife was named Cersei long before Game of Thrones came out.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling there's going to be now a bunch of Cerseis.
I don't know.
She existed at a time where that was very unique.
It's wild to me that there's not more Cerseis. It's because Cersei, I think it's Circe on Game of Thrones. It's not the same spelling.
Oh, it isn't?
Yeah, Cersei's Circe, which is, she's a Greek goddess, which is a fantastic name, right?
It's like
it looks great. It sounds great. Yeah. So I'm surprised there's not more.
But I also think that it created a trajectory.
Sure.
She was going to be great because she had this name that just
powerful
it was
name.
imbued with meaning.
Yep.
She had to live up to it.
Yes.
Whereas like naming your daughter
Karen.
Well, Karen, certainly. I was trying to think of like a stripper, a classic stripper.
Yeah.
Candy.
Yeah.
Destiny. What else?
My first girlfriend was named Candy Graham.
Really?
I told you that before. Yeah.
Yeah, you have told me that before.
Candy
what did
Graham.
she end up doing?
So I don't know. haven't kept up with Candy Graham.
But you know what I mean? Like if you name your daughter
Candy Graham,
she's not going to be a doctor. She's not going to be a surgeon. You're really limiting her potential in life.
Yes.
She's not going to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you.
I would love for a Dr. Candy to please call into the show and correct.
Yeah.
Or if your wife is Dr. Candy.
Chiropractor doesn't count.
Yeah.
Oh. You gotta be a surgeon. Okay.
Yep. Dr. Candy, paging Dr. Candy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought about all of this, of course, and I feel like I even told you I was pushing for Wolfgang.
Yeah.
Because there's only two.
Yep.
And they're both greats.
Amadeus Mozart.
Wolfgang Puck. And then listeners called in and were like, actually, there's three. Eddie Van Halen's son.
Oh yeah.
But he's great too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fine. That only makes my point.
Yeah.
But there's never been
a lousy Wolfgang.
Never.
Yeah.
They achieve greatness, and furthermore, who's going to mess with Wolfgang?
There's probably a couple lousy Wolfgangs in the Nazi party.
No, there aren't actually.
Really?
Nope.
So
there's only three that exist on the planet. They're all successful.
Okay.
And super talented as well.
Great. Man. Why did Wolfgang lose out then? You're still within,
rename him.
Still within the 2-week window.
We could rename him.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going to send this episode to Lauren.
Yeah.
Make her listen to one of our shows for the first time ever.
She will be so happy with all of this, both the discussion, the thought of changing the name. She'll be thrilled to pieces.
Well, in 30 years, when we're sitting in his mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, overlooking Ruggles, we will tell him this story. We'll be sitting on the lawn with him, enjoying a cocktail, a martini. Be like, man, we almost named you Austin, in which case we would have been sitting in your condo in Santa Ana.
Yep.
But instead,
Wolfgang.
Wolfgang, here we are.
Wolfgang's got a great nickname.
Totally.
Wolfie, Wolf. Man, it's a good name.
I know. So we'll fix that.
Okay, good.
You're welcome. I've got a barrel or gnaw that comes from the listener line. Got to find it real quick. All right, you ready?
What's up, guys? It's Christopher calling from New York City. Real quick, I have a similar obsession as Chaz with overpriced loafers. I just received my 5th or 6th pair of Gucci loafers in the mail today. Here's the catch. I refuse to pay full price. I eBay all my Gucci loafers, and they're all secondhand. So, barrel or nah, used clothing. It can be as specific as used shoes if you guys like, but just want to get your take. I think, David, you're probably going to think it's disgusting. But either way, let's hear the take. Thanks, guys. Bye.
I'm going to go barrel across the board, to be honest. I am not a vintage shopper myself. The daughter loves vintage shopping, though, and I appreciate that in her, right? Seems like fun, and she puts together interesting kits and all that. Great. Specifically, as it relates to designer, expensive, like, I think all great. Like, these are pieces more than they're just clothing, right? So you're buying something, especially if you're not just buying for, the name, like, but I think typically this stuff, an Hermes bag, right, is like quality material. It's great leather, it's craftsmanship, it's, all this stuff that's gone in. It's closer to art than it is to, to functional clothing. And so I think in the same way that you would buy a vintage car or anything vintage, a vintage wine, that a secondhand wine,
somebody drank it, spit it out.
I'm full barrel. I just think don't be a label whore when you do it. Like, buy quality, right? Like, a Gucci loafer is a phenomenal loafer. The Gucci Horsebit, one of the very original, if not the original loafer. I got a pair of Gucci loafers have lasted me for 10 years, I think now. Fantastic shoe. They're just starting to wear in. Yeah, all in.
Yeah.
Hand dragon.
To Christopher's surprise, I'm fully barrel on this as well. Vintage is key. Like, I prefer vintage. Like, there's so much more character. I think certain things were just made better back in the day, and clothing's probably one of them, that yeah, like a vintage watch as opposed to a new watch, a vintage Porsche as opposed to a new Porsche. Like they're just way more interesting.
I think I will add the caveat that if you're pure vintage guy or pure new guy, you're a problem both ways. Like mix it up, right? Don't have every piece in your wardrobe be vintage. Like have a couple things that you liked enough new so that you can then pass something vintage on to your child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or pass it on yourself. I think it's important to keep new stuff in rotation or bring new stuff in. So don't always go vintage, but definitely have a vintage program in your wardrobe.
And it seems like Chris has a very specific thing that he's into.
Gucci loafs.
And they are loafers. Yeah, so that's his thing. You know, and yes, watches. Some other guy's the watch guy, some other guy is the sunglass guy. And so whatever it is that you're into, not for the sake of just being into something and having a gimmick, but like if that's what you're into for whatever the reason is, maybe his dad was into loafers, you know, or whatever. Maybe he got a pair from his grandpa. Then I think that's totally cool and justifiable. You should have some unjustified, like illogical obsession with something like that. But the fact that it's quality, like wine is my thing.
Yeah.
I'm into wine, you know? And so I spend a ridiculous amount of money on it that I cannot justify in any way. I wouldn't tell anybody about. But it's like when a Friday night rolls around and I want to drink a good bottle of Pinot, I'm just going to go get it.
Oh, did you hear, who was it? It was some basketball player. Might have been, was it Steph Curry?
I don't know.
I can't remember, that I think they went and drank some $15,000 bottle of wine somewhere and just said, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it, like the sound of a $15,000 cork popping just hits different.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Cringy.
But it made sense. Like,
well, the problem with wine is the prices are just so ridiculously inflated now.
yeah.
Like that $15,000 wine didn't cost $15,000 to produce.
Yeah.
And it could, if it's that price, it can only be one of a few things.
I mean, it was a whatever.
Burgundy,
You know what it was.
Champagne, or Bordeaux.
It was the one Burgundy.
DRC.
Yeah. DRC.
Domaine Romani Conti.
That's exactly what it was. DRC.
Yeah. So that wine, I went to a buddy's house. Happens to be a surgeon. And
Candy?
No, Isaac. And
Surgeon's name.
and he started collecting wine, you know, in the 80s or whatever. And so his entire, one of the bedrooms of his house, the entire closet, you know, the long sliding door, so it takes the entire wall of a bedroom. Let's call it 18 feet long. He converted into a wine cellar. And so it's all racked, and those sliding doors are now glass doors, and temperature control, blah, blah, blah. That was all full. And there's a bunch of boxes of wine on the ground. That was all full. The little bar in the room had wine stacked along the sink counter and in the sink itself, so that you couldn't even use the sink because there's bottles in there. And so I'm thinking you put the good stuff, obviously, in the temperature controlled, and everything that's overflowed out here is just whatever, random, you know, whatever. I went over to the sink, where in the sink laying down, there was bottles of 1986 DRC.
Whoa.
Probably like 8 of them just stacked in there. And there's a bunch of different vineyard sites from DRC. There's Echezeaux, there's Romani Conti. And so he had various bottlings from that winery of the different vineyards, but it was all 86 vintage. And I'm like, Isaac, if you have DRC in the sink,
What's
not
in,
temperature controlled,
yeah.
what's in the freaking closet? You know what I mean? Like unreal. And the price tags were still on a lot of the bottles. And he's like, dude, I'm not even worried about that. He's like, I paid $20 a bottle for that. You know, like
For the DRC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whatever it was. I don't remember what the exact number was, but it was something that at the time seemed like a ton of money.
Yeah.
Buying a $20 bottle of wine in 88 or 89, whenever
Yeah.
that wine came out, was a ton of money. And I go, yeah, but Isaac, you could sell this at auction for literally like 10 grand a bottle, you know? He's like, I'm never going to sell any of it at auction. I don't buy it to sell it. I paid nothing for it. I'm going to drink it.
So he just,
Can we drink it now?
did he pop one?
No, we drank Harlan, which is like a $800 Napa cab.
Okay.
That day we drank Harlan. But I was just like, my mind was blown, you know?
Yeah.
Just at the cavalier.
But how is he going to get through it all? If he's buying wine at 86, he must be in his 60s, right?
And he's still buying it.
Yeah, but how in the world are you going to chew through all this?
He's not.
So his children will just inherit
Yeah.
like a fortune of wine. Well, that's pretty sweet.
Probably.
If I was them, I'd be like, pump the brakes on dad's drinking.
Yeah. He's still buying is the problem, is the other thing. It's like he's backfilling. Whatever he's drinking, he's just backfilling. So his kids are going to inherit something anyways. But the idea that wine was priced at $15,000 is only related to the fact that the market demand is just out of control.
Yeah.
Like the demand is so high.
But it doesn't taste better.
No. I mean, it's better, but it's not
15,000 times better.
No, exactly. Yeah. Back to whether or not you're going to drink it all. Another buddy of mine has an equation for how many bottles of wine he drinks in a year. And he likes to drink Napa Cabernet aged between 7 and 10 years. He likes to drink Bordeaux aged between 18 and 25 years. He likes Burgundy aged this amount. And so he knows he has this many bottles of Bordeaux and he drinks about this many a year. So he needs to be backfilling
at this rate
in order to drink 20-year-old wine
for the rest of his life.
Yeah, exactly. So,
smart.
And of course he has rents wine locker storage off site where there's a couple hundred cases of wine that he's constantly going and pulling. For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to grab this case of wine of these but these specific bottles.
How many bottles does he drink per week?
I think it's like in the 5 to 7 range, not quite one a day.
So he's moderate.
But then we'll have a get together and we'll go through 8, for a dinner party or something. And so, but they're all appropriately aged. But like the amount of work is just insane. But if that's what you're into, like Gucci loafers,
that's what you're into.
How much, by the way, give me a reference, Chris, how much is he spending on a pair of Gucci loafers on eBay? What's the right number?
Oh, he's probably between $200 and maybe $400.
So used, you can get a used pair for $200.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You get cheaper than that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Gucci loafer isn't crazy expensive though, too. I mean, I guess it's all dependent. Like,
there's more expensive brands.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying is like yes, buy your vintage, but also throw in a new pair every once in a while.
Right.
Go buy a new pair of Gucci loafs.
Okay.
It's not unreasonable.
Okay.
It's a good $600. Nothing.
I watched. There's a documentary series on Netflix called 7 Days, and it's 6 episodes, I think, and they start filming 7 days out from some big event. So the Kentucky Derby. And they're like interviewing, tracking 3 or 4 horses, tracking the trainers. 7 days out, one of the episodes was Chanel's haute couture fashion show in Paris. So all of the build up to that and the last minute fine tuning on the dresses, and they kind of center it around Karl Lagerfeld, who's the creative director at Chanel since the 80s. And I really developed an appreciation for the fashion.
It is. It's art.
I've never cared before, but I was like, these guys are, and girls, these people are the best.
They're artists
at what they do.
Precisely. That's why it's worth the money, right? Like not all of it. I mean,
these pieces are hundreds of thousands.
Sure. But like in general with the fashion houses, sometimes it's better than others, some, whatever, but you have to be discerning like you would be of any hobby, of any surfboard collector, any wine collector, if you're collecting anything, if you're into fashion, just be discerning. It's worth the money.
And they can resell it too.
Yeah.
Like with certain things, they have resale value. Yep. And for those pieces, it's certainly different.
Hermes bags go up in value.
Yeah.
The second you buy it, it's more expensive.
Because of the limited amount that they make.
Precisely.
Yeah, they keep.
So your bag is instantly appreciated in value.
If you can get one. You got to get on the wait list though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So anyways, that made me appreciate it in a way that I hadn't before. Barrel or nah? Pumpkin spice everything.
So no barrel. I dislike in general the flavor of like the trending flavor, right? Like a couple years ago, I feel it was bacon, where everything was bacony.
They had chocolate bars with bacon.
Just bacon, throw bacon in anything. Pumpkin spice, I think, came on a couple years ago and has maintained firm.
It's here to stay.
Before bacon, vanilla. Remember how vanilla scented candles were just everywhere? Everything was vanilla. Like, I dislike the trending scent and or flavor.
I dislike things that taste like other things.
Yeah.
So I want my beer to taste like beer.
You don't want it to taste like grapefruit.
Coffee to taste like coffee. Pumpkin to taste like pumpkin. I love me some pumpkin. Pumpkin pie, fantastic. But I don't want everything else to taste like that thing.
Yeah.
I'm anti pumpkin spice everything.
I'm going to say I'm going to throw the whole category of flavored coffees into the no barrel category.
Perfect.
Yep.
Dump it in there.
Like Irish. I remember Bailey's, like the Irish cream flavor was big trending for flavored coffees for a while. I mean, not just Irish coffee, actually I'm all for putting Bailey's liqueur in your coffee. That's one thing, right? That's like a thing.
It's for the alcohol.
Sure. It's not for the flavor of going to, I don't even know
it's not a 7 a.m. thing.
No. But yeah, flavored coffees in general. No. Drink hot chocolate if you want a stinking mocha.
Anti.
Yep.
And then, like you said, the scent.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go now, I have to smell pumpkin spice.
Yep.
Every retail
Pumping
store.
out.
Yeah, forget that.
Nope.
Anti. Do not order pumpkin spice anything.
If you're a man ordering a pumpkin spice latte too, I'm just going to say, I don't want to make gender specific things here.
There are some gender specific things in life.
Don't be a man and order a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah. Anti. Okay, barrel or nah, using Twitter to insult public figures. Couple of news stories this week. I referenced Elon Musk earlier. Big Bird was called a communist by Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Did you see these stories?
No.
Oh yeah, Big Bird.
What did Big Bird get communisted for?
Promoting vaccines on Sesame Street.
Ooh, commie.
So everybody's attacking Big Bird this week.
Ooh, I missed that.
Elon Musk literally tweeted 2 days ago. Probably my favorite tweet of some time. I want to get the quote correct. This was in response to, I forget the senator's name who's in charge of the finance committee, but they're always fighting back and forth about what he's doing with his stock. They were arguing back and forth, and Elon's response to him was, "Why does your pee-pee look like you just came?"
Oh, wow. Elon. Amazing. How did I miss this story?
I have no
idea. What was the fallout?
There's no fallout. Elon can say whatever
but
he
there
wants.
Was like the rest of the press didn't jump on it, and there's nothing.
You could find the story. No, nobody really gave him a hard time about it.
It's just like,
I think we expect Elon to be Elon now.
Yeah.
Like after smoking the joint on Rogan or whatever else he said, asinine things that he said, everybody's just like, that's the way he is. I guess it's acceptable to insult in the most childish manner the senator and the head of the finance committee.
You know who we need as head of the WSL? Elon Musk. Acceptable risk.
I don't think that he would
through
be up
the
for
roof
job.
To the moon. He just has to be a figurehead. It just has to, that has to be the level of like, he's up there. If Elon's not going to get mad at this thing, then we're letting it through. Like that's your rubric.
It's a way more childish and way more hilarious joke than the one Benji was trying to make.
It's true.
Why does your pee-pee look like you just came? And he wrote pee-pee, just the 2 letters, pee-pee.
Why? What was it in reference to? Was it a reference to a picture or something?
No, it wasn't. I only saw Elon's tweet, and the buildup of the story was like, Elon talked about selling all of his, I forget how many shares of his Tesla stock.
Yep.
He moved to Texas, so he's not going to have to pay taxes on those. So there was just back and forth, and they're constantly trying to legislate or to
bust him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically regulate. And so he was arguing back and forth with the senator, and that was his final salvo.
Well,
I don't know if he can have a final salvo. That was his final retort.
I'm going to go full on barrel for insulting people on Twitter, but again, with a caveat, you better be good at it. People who are both
pretty good,
both not good at it and thin-skinned about taking it back. Yeah, Elon full barrel, right?
I think Elon was like, enough of this like high finance. Yeah. Like I'm going to take this to the lowest common denominator and just end it.
Yep. I mean, smart man. But if you're going to get on Twitter and start insulting, can't be thin-skinned.
No.
And you have to be good at it because it has to be entertaining, right? Yeah. Like I feel that what's John Legend's wife's name?
Chrissy Teigen.
Chrissy Teigen fell into the classic trap of being, I feel, not very good at insulting on Twitter, and then later growing out of it and being thin-skinned. You better be in the long game. Like I feel Elon's not going to look back on any of his tweets in 20 years and say, "Ooh, I was being childish." He knows exactly what he's doing.
He does. Well, he's manipulating stock is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's just growing his wealth is what he's doing. And see, Chrissy Teigen, I think, started out not good at it, and
Yeah.
then she got excellent at it.
But then she felt bad about it.
That was the problem. So
Yeah.
when she was going toe to toe with Trump and stuff, she was hilarious.
Yeah.
The problem was in her closet was fat shaming and all this other stuff. So
I mean, but that's the thing, to have if you're going to be a Twitter and like a public insulter, then you're going to have a back catalog of some things that aren't that good in there. You can't be perfectly funny and perfectly like on the right side the entire time.
no, you're going to misstep. But the problem was, very sadly, she had a miscarriage, which she talked about publicly, and that shifted her public persona. Was no longer like shouting down at people. It was now like, I'm posting these photos of me ugly crying, and I want sympathy from the public, and that made her vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, and she didn't know how to navigate that.
Don't be vulnerable.
Once she was vulnerable for 6 to 9 months and people start piling on, then she's in full apology tour mode, and she's lost the plot.
Done.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a
Which is
great
why-
analysis.
Which is why I feel bad. I said at the beginning of the show, like, gosh, do we even want to talk about surfing anymore? Aren't there better things to do with our time?
Nothing better.
I know.
Surfing.
Yeah. All right. All right, fine. All right. So barrel on insulting your public figures on Twitter.
Barrel.
So I get on Twitter every once in a while. I don't use it, but I'll get on there every once in a while. I like to look at Elon's tweet. And then I see Kanoa is like, sweet session today, rad cup of coffee. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We always talk about Instagram and the cesspool of Facebook and all that sort of stuff. We never really talk about Twitter enough.
Yeah.
But Twitter serves a real purpose. It's its own cesspool, but I don't want to see the updates from Kanoa. I don't want any of that, but I love the idea that we have direct access to Elon Musk and to the politicians, and that Bezos accidentally dick pics, go out or whatever it is. Like, all of that is a fascinating time that we're living in. And so I'm kind of barrel on all of it. And slinging an insult it has value.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to do.
Yeah.
Barrel.
Yeah, barrel. Okay.
In.
All right. Album Surfboards, thank you very much. They just got back from Niama Resort.
Sounded too incredible to even be real.
Matt Parker was just telling us about it before we started recording, and super successful trip. He said the group of people that went on that trip was super fascinating, really interesting people from all over the world. And the resort, Niama Resort, is just absolutely world-class.
Niama, reach out.
And the waves are unreal.
We'll do 2 podcasts for free from your resort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to start saving money to one day go to Niama
No,
Resort.
they're going to bring us out to do podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Podcast live.
Thank you. So thanks, Album, for hosting us here in the studio. Jazz, thank you. What else? Anything you want to promote?
Thank you, David Lee. Nothing.
All right. Until next week.
Get barrel.